That's okay. You ready?
Yeah. Sorry about that.
Okay. Good afternoon. We are here to report that the Erie County Grand Jury has completed its investigation and returned a 12-count indictment against 42-year-old DeJuan Williams. The defendant appeared this afternoon before Erie County Court Judge Jessica Culpet at Erie County Medical Center, where he was arraigned on this indictment. The 12 counts include the most serious ones, which are attempted murder of a police officer, attempted murder in the second degree, attempted assault in the first degree, attempted robbery in the first degree, criminal possession of a weapon in the second degree, and grand larceny in the third degree. There are others, but those are the most serious charges. The defendant was remanded by Judge Culpet. We do not yet have a return date when he will appear in court. Also this afternoon, the defendant appeared before Judge Culpet on a parole warrant, and a recognizance hearing was conducted. He has been remanded on that as well. Now, this case involves an attempted armed robbery that occurred at a 7-Eleven on the corner of Prospect and Connecticut Streets a week ago today, Wednesday, April 15th, at about 8:40 p.m. It ended with the defendant being arrested shortly after that attempted robbery, and he was taken to ECMC, where he has remained since his arrest. Now, the defendant is presumed innocent unless and until proven guilty in a court of law, but I'm going to outline to you what happened here and what the allegations contain. On April 15th, 2026, at about 8:40 p.m., the defendant entered this 7-Eleven on Prospect and Connecticut. He went to a cooler for some beer, and then he walked up to the counter looking like he was going to purchase it. Instead, he showed the clerk a gun and told the clerk to give him all the cash and some cigarettes. He was wearing a mask and a hoodie. The clerk then put up his hands and told the defendant, "You can take it." The defendant immediately took out his gun and shot the clerk in the leg, in the upper thigh, sort of groin area. The store clerk then starts putting some stuff into a bag, and right about that moment, Buffalo police officers Nikki Pascucci and Ezge Dilek were approaching the front of the store to go in to the store. Just coincidentally, they were walking up to the front doors of the 7-Eleven. Officer Pascucci saw the defendant with a gun in his hand pointed at the clerk. He informed Officer Dilek, and they positioned themselves on either side of the front doors to the 7-Eleven. Officer Pascucci had also noticed that as they were walking up to the door, the defendant turned and looked in his direction at Officer Pascucci, so he thought that the defendant had seen him. The defendant was exiting the store, and as he approached the doors to leave the store with the gun in his right hand, and he was crouching down a little bit, looking to his right, the defendant's right, where Officer Pascucci had gone, and Officer Dilek had gone to the left. They were on either side of the doors. As the defendant was exiting the store, Officer Pascucci yelled at him, telling him to put down the gun. The defendant then fired his weapon toward Officer Pascucci, and then the defendant took off to his left in the direction of where Officer Dilek was located. Officer Dilek discharged her service weapon twice at the defendant, striking him and hitting the gun in his hand. Not sure I mentioned it, but as the defendant was exiting the store, he fired his weapon in the direction towards Officer Pascucci, and then he ran to the left towards Officer Dilek. As the defendant was running toward her, Officer Dilek discharged her service weapon twice. She struck him in the arm, and she also hit the gun. The gun was damaged, and the defendant dropped it in the 7-Eleven parking lot, where it was later recovered. It is a .22 caliber revolver. The defendant then ran south on Prospect, with the police chasing him on foot. As he was running south on Prospect, he approached a vehicle with an innocent driver in the vehicle. The defendant jumped into the passenger seat and then the driver immediately jumped out of the vehicle. The defendant then drove this car that he had just stolen back down Prospect in the direction that he had come from. This is northbound toward the 7-Eleven. As he was attempting to get away, a few blocks later, he crashed his vehicle into several other vehicles that were parked. And police officers that were responding to the calls put out by officers Pascucci and Dilek, those responding police officers found the defendant unconscious in the driver's seat of this vehicle. This whole thing just took a few minutes. So the officers then provided life-saving measures to the defendant, including putting a tourniquet on his arm, and they called an ambulance. The defendant was then transported to Erie County Medical Center, where, as I mentioned, he has been since this incident. He has an injury to his arm from being shot by Officer Dilek. The store clerk also went to Erie County Medical Center, and he was treated for a gunshot wound to his leg. He has since been discharged, and he's recovering. He has some pain, and he's got a limp, but luckily the bullet did not strike his femoral artery, and he did not need surgery. So it's important that I again note that this defendant is presumed innocent unless and until he has been proven guilty. But as I noted, the Erie County Grand Jury has completed this investigation, and it again has returned an indictment with 12 separate counts. Now, separately, our office has determined that the officer's use of force was justified in accordance with New York State law. And I will tell you that a police officer may use deadly physical force when it is necessary to defend themselves or another person from what the officer reasonably believes to be the use of imminent force or imminent deadly physical force. In addition, a police officer may use deadly physical force to effect the arrest of a person in circumstances in which the officer reasonably believes that the person committed or attempted to commit a felony involving the use of physical force against another. There is video evidence from the store and body-worn camera footage that I know some of which has been released by the Buffalo Police Department. I'm not going to get too far into discussing the evidence in this case for the reasons you're all familiar with. I have to be careful about discussing the evidence and protecting the integrity of this case. But there are also a number of civilian witnesses that have come forward in this investigation and have cooperated, and that's an important part of this investigation. I would be remiss if I did not take the opportunity to commend the two police officers involved in this case for their quick action and their brave response to this very, very dangerous situation. In addition, detectives involved from the Buffalo Police Department who did exceptional work are Detective Zangi, Costantino, Ruggiero, and Sergeant McCabe. This case is being handled and prosecuted by the Major Crimes Bureau Chief for us, Ashley Morgan. The defendant faces a possible sentence of 20 years to life if convicted of the charges in this indictment. As I mentioned, the case has been assigned to County Court Judge Jessica Culpit. She will keep the case. We do not yet have a return date. If there's any questions, I'm happy to try to answer them. Yes, sir.
Two questions. First of all, isn't it pretty amazing and a credit to the police? This happened right in the middle of the Yuval campus, that there weren't more injuries or anything connected to this, that it was contained to unfortunately, the clerk, the suspect. Those were the only two that were injured in all this. And number two, Interim Chief Macy said the shooting part, actually, from the time the cops pulled up to the shots being fired, was about 20 seconds.
Yep.
Could you?
Yeah, I mean, this thing developed very, very quickly. As I indicated, I think the officers, responded professionally and carefully in a potentially very dangerous situation. They acted very bravely, and you are 100% correct that this could have been a much worse outcome for a lot of different people.
Does the suspect have a known criminal history?
So I'm not allowed to. It's one of the things that I'm specifically prohibited from talking about when I talk to the media. I cannot talk about a criminal defendant's criminal history.
Did the suspect happen to know the clerk?
They did not know each other. Thank you.